First of all, as I do with all of the talks, I want to thank all of you for coming. I know it's an evening, night, middle of the week, other things to be going on, so I appreciate you all coming and allowing me the opportunity to share and build upon what we talked about 2 years ago, because everybody here tonight is a return from 2023. So thank you all for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, Morgan, for coming out again and committing to being at all of the talks this year. I'm excited to see the video work that you put in this year. So excited to have this opportunity. So just want to thank all of you. Really appreciate it. And I want to start this year with a different approach. 2 years ago, I did the sound bath, and maybe that'll come back again this year when it makes sense. But I want to start off by reading a poem. And this poem is called Authentic Life, which is tonight's talk, and really is the outline, the agenda for tonight's talk. And if you saw the video, it is the poem turned into a music song, to a rap. So I'm going to lead off with this, and then we'll get into it. So, the authentic life. One life, your life. The one you were created to live. One life, your life. The one that holds gifts the world can only receive through you. Chris Brickley, Mack, Hakim Tafari, and so many more, showing us what it means to honor their truth, to live authentically. One life, your life. Guided by passion, fueled by desire, energized by your heart, and strengthened through service. But the key, the foundation, alignment, spirit, mind, and body, in harmony, an unshakable unity to protect at all costs. Society whispers, family shapes, trauma scars, education molds, and the truth that a more authentic life awaits remains hidden. So many live blind to the life designed exclusively for them. One life, your life, the authentic life. To live authentically is to live with purpose, to feel fulfillment, to find contentment, and to give the world what only you can offer. Imagine this, a trust so deep in the universe that you surrender completely to your heart, your intuition, and the flow of life itself. In that state of surrender, authenticity flourishes. Still unsure? Look up Michael Singer and his experimentation of surrendering. The authentic life, the one life, the life you were meant to live. Bringing your gifts, your talents, your light to the world, waiting for your unique touch. If the universe were a puzzle, each of us a piece, your piece, no one else's, completes the bigger picture. One life, your life, the authentic life. So, hopefully that poem will make more sense. You'll connect more to it. You'll recognize some names that I talk about. But the authentic life fundamentally is a very simple definition. The life you were created to live. That's simple, but it's so much more. There's more to it as we're going to dive into it. This concept of the authentic life is something that I have been in love with since it came to me on the beach of Marco Island over 2 years ago, when I was meditating and thinking about this, and it's like authentic was whispered into my head, and I loved it. And I've had multiple people tell me, maybe you should think about coming up with a new term. It's too vague. People don't really know what it means. Authenticity is a buzzword. Like, authentic life's not going to sell books, if that's a goal of yours in the future. And this comes from people that are really good at what they do, and I very much trust and appreciate their word, but I can't shake it. And I refuse, and I'm stubborn, I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to stop talking about the authentic life till more and more people know about it. So, the authentic life fundamentally is the life that you're created, but I want to get into kind of how you can figure it out, what does it feel like, and what does it look like. And one of the best examples I can think of what it looks like is this gentleman right here. This summer, Roman and I had the opportunity to go out to New York City, and hopefully it's not a once-in-a-lifetime experience. It could be depending on how hard he wants to work, but he got to train with Chris Brickley. And Chris Brickley is the world's top trainer. He trains all of the best basketball players. You name your favorite basketball player, he's either training them or has trained them. NBA, college, up-and-coming high school, he's training them all. But when he was exiting high school, going into college, I can't imagine that he ever dreamt that this is where he would be. This gym is iconic to basketball players. He grew up in Connecticut, went to Northeastern on a scholarship, played behind a couple of really good mid-major players, some of the best mid-majors have been around, and ended up transferring after the coach left to Louisville, and finished his college career at Louisville under Rick Pitino. Got to play some, but really good team, Big East champions, went to the NCAA tournament, really good experience, and graduates and becomes the youngest graduate assistant in NCAA 2A. So he's the youngest coach, if you will, in the country, stays there for a little while, leaves to go work for the Knicks at the very, very bottom. Gets a player development role, is getting paid $200 a week in New York City, but following his passion and his love of basketball. Gets to start training Carmelo Anthony, and the relationship with Carmelo Anthony, who was a Knick at the time, is the beginning of the biggest change that brings him the opportunities that I don't think he could have imagined would be. Starts training Carmelo, that turns into getting to meet Kawhi Leonard and Jimmy Butler and J.R. Smith, Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and the list goes on. And he ends up leaving the Knicks, leaving the security of the position at the Knicks with no game plan other than, I know these guys, I've been training them, and hopefully they'll keep working with me. So he bets on himself, following his passion, doing something that nobody in the right mind would do. And you fast forward to today, he's got a gym in the building that he lives in, that he trains out of. He is training the world's best basketball players. He has brand partnerships with Puma, Wilson Basketball, has his own shoe, has his own basketball series, Peloton, Body Armor, all of these brand partnerships because he is the best trainer in the world. He discovered, through basketball, his gifts and talents, his unique gifts and talents that allow him to do something that no one else in the world can do as good as him, which is why all of the best players flock to him. And I look at him as an example of what the authentic life could bring to you because there was trials and tribulations. It wasn't a smooth ride. He had to take risks. He bet on himself, but he did what he loved and he just followed his heart, which brought him opportunities he never could have imagined. And now he lives in New York City, has a skyline view. BMW is another partnership that he has, all off of his love of basketball. If a kid told their parents, I'm going to be a basketball trainer and it's going to provide all of the things it provided for Chris Brickley, most parents are going to tell them you need a backup plan. But it shows the power of tapping into who you are authentically and following your heart, tapping into your gifts and talents. And not only is he doing basketball now, he's done an album with Dave East, who's a rapper. He gets into fashion. He's expressing himself in the ways that he wants to, and while he's not technically a model, if you look at his Instagram, he even has like a mini modeling career going with these brands that he's discovered and likes. He's in the NBA 2K game. All of these things that a child who loves basketball would love to have happen, and it was basketball that brought him there. And plenty of opportunities to steer away from that. So why do I think he's living his authentic life? He's doing his passion. He's expressing himself in a variety of ways and exploring what basketball can bring to him, and it's brought him tremendous opportunities. And at the end of the day, I can't imagine he ever thought when he left the Knicks that this would be where he's at. Now, I don't know how he discovered the strength and the confidence to bet on himself and follow his passion because I never had the opportunity to have that conversation. And if he ever sees this conversation, I would love to have him on my podcast one day and talk about it. Roman can maybe make that happen if he gets us back there. But I do know what has worked for me and has worked for a lot of people. So I'll say I have a formula, but it's not really a formula that we'll talk about. But before we get to that, I want to give an exercise, a thought exercise. So if you're listening to this on the podcast or watching on YouTube, you can pause and think through this. Those of you here tonight, you can take this with you and work on it tonight or think about it later. But this idea of this authentic life, how do you even know if you're living or not living your authentic life? And I would just challenge you to think about your life where you are today and trying to determine whose life are you living. Are you living your own life or are you living a life that was designed for you by someone else? And you can just start asking just some basic questions, like why are you where you are today? Whether that be location, whether that be career, why are you where you are? Did you make conscious decisions to get here? Or did you just wake up one day, here I am, and I don't know how I got there? Are you happy? Do you have contentment? Are you fulfilled? Are there things that you've always wanted to do, but you've never had the courage to do that kind of call to you? Just those simple questions can kind of help you begin to evaluate whose life you're living, who designed the life that you're living. And we can also use one of my favorite questions that comes from George Kinder from my registered life planner designation. It's this final question, and if you've read anything of mine before, you've probably read it, but if today was your last day, who did you not get to become? What did you not get to do? What was left undone? And depending on those answers, you might find out that you're not living the life that you really want to live. That there's a life that you would much rather live that's probably more in line with your authentic life, which gives you the ability to begin to explore. So do that exercise. Are you living your life, or did somebody else design your life? Last year, I was scrolling Instagram, not super proud of the time I spent on Instagram, but I was scrolling through, and I was stopped dead in my tracks because there was this guy on my screen freestyling on the boardwalk of what I can imagine was one of the beaches in California. And when I say freestyle, it's not the freestyles we see on the radio stations, which are just recycled verses that people are pretending they're freestyle. Like, he was going straight off the head. He was getting words from people in the crowd, working those words into his rap that actually made sense, and on top of that, ad-libbing what they were wearing or a hat they may have on or their types of shoe. Like, truly creating on the spot. And when I saw that, I was like, I gotta see more of this. I spent probably an hour watching Harry Mack's Instagram page and watching him just continuously create these freestyles off the top of his head that are probably better than 90% of the top mumble rap artists that are out there, and he was doing it live and on the spot. I knew I had to learn more. So Harry Mack grew up loving music thanks to his dad. His dad put him on to music through jazz. He started playing the drums. His sister put him on to hip hop. And by middle school, he was rapping. He had a group of friends that had a group. They put out an album. And then he began to freestyle to help him with being able to improvise. And from my research, I couldn't find a definite date, either 2016 or 2017, a video of him rapping in LA on the boardwalk went viral. And it changed his life. And you think about that. His career now is centered around music. There's a lot of artists out there, but his craft is very unique because what makes him and different from other rappers out there is his ability to create on the spot and freestyle. And he does it all of the time. I've seen videos of him, I don't even know how they arrange it, where he'll be on the computer, someone will pop in on Zoom, and it's like they don't even know who he is. And they give him 5 or 6 words, and then he goes off and creates his freestyle. This is his career. His passion of music evolved as he continued to explore it, and now, just like Chris Brickley, he has opportunities in front of him that he could have never imagined would be there. And it's all because, like Chris Brickley, he tapped into his unique gifts and talents. The ability to create, the ability to entertain, the ability to rap, the ability to inspire people through words and promote positivity and optimism. That's a gift, and only he can do it. And so when you find your unique gifts like Harry Mack did, and your unique talents, and you begin to use them, opportunities come to you. It's almost like the universe is like, yes, you found out the gifts that were given to you, and you're using them for good, we're going to help you. And if you think about just general supply and demand, if you have a gift and talent that no one else has, and you discover it, and you start to bring it to the world, and oftentimes these gifts and talents show up in a form of service, you bring those gifts and talents that nobody can do as good as you can to the world, it's going to make you in high demand, just like Chris Brickley and Harry Mack. So I mentioned a formula. It's not really a formula, it's alignment. And I'm going to keep this high level because I want you to come back next month, because I'm doing these talks every month. February's talk is called Alignment. And the alignment is all about this alignment, which is kind of my formula of spirit, mind, body, and money. I'm going to give you a high-level idea of what I mean by that, and then have you come back next month and we'll dive deeper into it. But this alignment of spirit, mind, and body has been extremely valuable to me. And when I look around other people, whether it's listening to podcasts, reading books, watching videos, there are a lot of other people who are finding this alignment on their own. Whether they know it, they're aligning their spirit, which is their connection to their higher power. So the beauty of this formula is that it applies to everybody. It doesn't matter your belief system, because everybody believes in some form of higher power. So whomever or whatever created you for a reason. And if you can connect to it, which I believe is through your heart, your intuition, but through your heart, you'll begin to recognize these unique gifts and talents and direct you in the direction you're supposed to go. So your spiritual connection is your download to your higher power to help you figure out, why are you here? The mind component of it is, now that we have this download and we have this vision, your mind is what makes it possible to actually happen. You've heard the saying, when you believe it, you'll see it. You've probably heard it the other way. When I see it, I'll believe it. It's when you believe it, you will see it. Your mind creates your reality. Your perception creates your experience. Your mind is what takes this vision that you get from your higher power and allows it to become real in this world. Whether that is the belief that it can happen, the visualization that can happen, being able to plan for it, all comes from the mind. If your mind does not believe in this vision that you get from your higher power, it will never exist. So your mind has to be aligned with it. And the body is the ability for your vision to come from your higher power, to come through your heart, to go through your mind, and your body executes it. So your body has to be in line with it as well, because your body's role is to execute and bring this physically to people. Now, you only get one body in this experience, so it's important that you take care of it. And if your body is not in good shape, it can pull you out of alignment because you just don't feel good. So when you have this alignment, you're taking care of your physical body, however you might want to do that. You are keeping your mind in a good space, however you want to do that, and you have a spiritual connection to your higher power. Now you are moving and you're starting to see a better, clearer picture of who you are, what you value, what you're supposed to do. And the money component of it, money touches everything. When you find that alignment, money begins to fall into place and take care of what it needs to. So we'll talk more about how do you find it, what does it feel like, all that type of stuff in the next one. But that is the formula. I don't know Chris Brickley's formula. I don't know Harry Mack, but I'm willing to bet if I talk to them, there will be some type of connection to all of those three areas that have helped them find their authentic life and live it. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and Rich Roll's podcast is one of my favorite podcasts. And last year, I heard this gentleman on his podcast with an infectious laugh, this voice that just pulled me in, and this energy that came through the airwaves that I was just like, I need to learn more. This is the guy I want to be around. And this is Hakim Tafari. And he was on the Rich Roll podcast telling his story of growing up in the UK, coming to the States as a teenager, living in Texas, going to Orlando, ending up in California, and kind of some trials and tribulations. Had a health scare, got divorced. Wasn't a smooth road for him, but where he sits today, when I look at him, and I've had the opportunity to talk to him a couple times, he is living his authentic life. He is a runner, and he brought the run club culture of the East Coast to the West Coast. He teaches Tai Chi, which is what this picture is showing. He is a Buddhist that teaches in the Buddhist practice. Meditation. He dabbles in music. He spent time earlier in his career in the hip hop space. He was in a band. Now he's a DJ, doing all of the things that he wants to do his unique way, which has allowed him also to have brand deals just like Chris Brickley. He's Nike, Adidas, Fitbit, Whoop, whether that be modeling for them, brand consultant, doing work for them, all because he is being his true self. He has found who he is supposed to be, expresses himself in the way that he feels most authentic, which has brought all these opportunities to him and has landed him on Rich Roll's podcast, not once but twice. The crazy thing is, and I think is really cool, if you Google Hakim, you only see him on Rich Roll and like 2 other small podcasts. One day I'll change that. But the point of that is, he is not all over making all of the podcast circuits. He's picking and choosing. He's maintaining more of an underground following, but still able to go up on the big shows. And it's all because he is being his unique, authentic self. What attracted me to him was his authenticity. That he said on those shows, when I was going to get a chance to talk to him, I expected it to be true, and it was 1,000% true. So we all have a little bit of Chris Brickley in us. We all have Mack. We all have Hakim Tafari in us. They are great examples of when you tap into who you are and follow that, what can come from it. Living life doing what you love the most, providing what you need, and for each of them, I'm sure their incomes are different. So it's not about making a ton of money. It's providing you what you need to live your life and being able to have experiences and opportunities that come to you only because you're being yourself. So these three, I think, are great examples of what the authentic life is. I want to go back to the definition. I gave you the very easy, the authentic life is the life you were created to live. And I mentioned it's more than that. And I think that while it's an easy definition to share, I don't think that definition is actually easy to interpret. Like, if I tell you that, it's hard to know, well, okay, the life I'm supposed to live, how do I know what that is? What is it? And I think that the best way, and the reason I chose these examples tonight, the best way to tell you what the authentic life is to show you. And the even better way is to help you feel it. The tough thing about this idea of the authentic life, and a lot of the talks to come, is it's a feeling type of thing. And I think by seeing people, you can begin to identify maybe some characteristics that you have that are found in them, or maybe some ideas that you've had that run parallel to the things they did, and you can begin to pull on that thread. So the authentic life, while simple, is hard to receive verbally and written. And I think looking at those gentlemen, and also hopefully looking at me, my word for 2025, one of my words is epitome. Like, I want to be the epitome of having alignment of spirit, mind, and body, and be the epitome of living an authentic life. Hopefully I can lead by example, and some of those examples trigger in you a noticing of a calling to your authentic life. So, to build on the basic that I mentioned a little bit before with the spirit talk, the authentic life is what your higher power had in mind for you. It's why they put you on this earth. It's found through the heart, it's found through your passions, and ultimately as you begin to tap into it, you start to get these cool synchronicities that Adam and I talked about today. Synchronicities letting you know you're on the right path. For me, it's the bald eagles. It's repeating numbers. It's when I think about somebody, they end up calling me. You get these signs to let you know you're moving in the right direction because you're heading where you're supposed to be. And I think today, there's a lot of people who are unhappy. And there's a lot of turmoil right now with changing of president and what's going on. And a lot of people are feeling low. I don't feel that way, but I know that people are feeling that way. And part of me wonders if some of this disruption of happiness is bigger than politics, it's bigger than careers, it is the universe trying to get more people to wake up. Because I'm going to talk about risks of not living your authentic life in a moment, and I think that the universe and our higher powers talk to us sometimes through signs. And sometimes the signs have to get more severe to wake us up. So I just wonder if some of the solution to the discontentment and the negativity that is around right now could be alleviated if more people were living their authentic life. Because I believe if you're living your authentic life, then the headlines that are driving so much unhappiness become less important. They don't impact you as much, or you see what they really are, and they don't allow you to get you down because you are moving in the direction you're supposed to. One of the reasons I want more people to discover the authentic life is I do think it makes the world a better place. But you've been given these unique gifts and talents, and those are the gifts and talents that the world needs. And it might be scary sometimes to bring them out, but the more you do it, the better you get. And again, you get the signs that tell you, yeah, this is something you're supposed to be doing, do more of it. The authentic life is not perfect, though. I painted in this picture that If you live the authentic life, you'll live a great life and you'll do what you're supposed to do. And there is a lot of happiness and greatness that comes with it, but life is life. It's not perfect. It's not without pain. It's not without suffering. It's not without sadness. But when you're moving in your authentic life, those experiences that bring those emotions oftentimes end up being lessons to help you continue to evolve with your authentic life. So don't be mistaken that if once you connect with your higher power and you figure your authentic life, that everything's going to be perfect. It's not. It's also not a life without hard work. You still have to work hard as you move in your authentic life. If you don't think Chris Brickley works hard, the dude is always in the gym, and he is like a savant. Mack is always recording. Hakim is always on the move. But when you're doing what you love, work doesn't feel like work. And that's the beauty. And that's one of the ways you know you're doing what you're supposed to do is the work doesn't feel like work. The authentic life does not guarantee material riches. I think it guarantees like spiritual riches and non-material riches. But material riches, the bank accounts, the fancy cars, the expensive clothing, that's not guaranteed by the authentic life. But what it will bring you is every bit that you need to live your authentic life. Living your authentic life depends on the individual. And what is needed to fund that life depends on the individual as well. But as shared, when spirit, mind, and body come together, money takes care of itself. Takes care of itself in understanding where you need to allocate it, but also the money that you need to live the life that you're supposed to live comes to you in ways that sometimes you may not believe. Your authentic life is not like anyone else's, which is why it's authentic to you. It's unique. So we can look to examples of others, but we don't want to necessarily mimic them because we're trying to be them, which is not authentic to us. But we can find parallels to help us. And lastly, what the authentic life is not, and maybe most important, is the authentic life is not a destination. So I think it is a goal to find and live your authentic life, but your authentic life is always growing and evolving and expanding. And the more you find it and the more you live it, the more it expands, because now you're having people come into your life at just the right time that expose you to a new idea. You're listening to a podcast, you're reading a book that opens your eyes to a new understanding, and you begin to learn and grow. So the authentic life is an evolution, and it's important that you don't get too complacent when you get there. We like comfort, and when you find that authentic life and you're in it, it feels really, really good, and you can get comfortable really easily. But if you don't keep up evolving, then you're going to fall out of being in your authentic life. So your authentic life is already inside of you. It's in there. And maybe you have had some glimpses of it, maybe in a dream, maybe an experience that you just really, really enjoyed, you never thought you would. Maybe you feel called to do some things you've never done before. It's in there, and the more in tune you get with yourself, the more you get to pick up on it. And then the more you begin to go down the path, the more clear it becomes. And this gets to the synchronicities. This is when the person comes into your life at just the right time. The door opens that you never could have imagined. These things that we deem as coincidences that are not coincidences. It's the universe urging you to continue by giving you what you need just when you need it to keep you going. So you are Chris Brickley. You are Mack. You are Hakim Tafari in your own way. Your authentic life will not look like them, but the lives that they have created and designed for themselves is in you. You have that opportunity. So it's your responsibility to figure out what is it that you bring to the world that no one else can, that will allow you to create a life doing that and having all these other great things come to you. If you don't get inspired and excited about the idea of the authentic life by seeing what other people have done and how it's helped them, then maybe your mind works that you need to be scared into finding the authentic life. And not really scared, but like, what are the risks of not living an authentic life? A lack of fulfillment, feeling discontent, not being happy, low energy, low vibration moving through life, regret. I think regret is the worst. Well, regret on looking back, not fulfilling what you said you wanted to or thought you wanted to, or the regret of never even exploring it. Or the risk of the universe saying, we need you to do this thing, and we've been trying to guide you. We've been opening the doors. We've been putting the people in your life, and you keep on ignoring. So we're going to give you a near-death experience. We're going to make life crumble. So you have no other choice but to rebuild and rebuild in the way that we want you to go. I don't think that people who have those negative events intentionally or want them to happen, but I do think sometimes that trauma, sometimes that suffering is your higher power, the universe, getting your attention to pull you over in the direction that the world needs you to be in, and it just had to get loud. So you run the risk of a wake-up call that I think you can avoid. I think if you are aligned and you're moving and evolving, again, not a perfect life, not without some trials and tribulations, but I think you avoid the big declines that some people have to find out who they truly are. And I want to leave you with one more example of the authentic life. Everybody here will remember this guy. I don't know if I showed his face, but Michael Singer, the author of The Untethered Soul. He wrote that book back in 2012, and Oprah named it one of her favorite books, and it blew up. And if I'm being honest, I have not finished The Untethered Soul. It's one of those books I picked up, started reading, and it just wasn't the right time for me, but it keeps on coming up right now, so I feel like I need to read it sooner rather than later. But I know it's a good book. His other book is the one I want to highlight, The Surrender Experiment. That's basically his autobiography that tells us of the story of a young man who's off at college, doesn't have a lot of money, who decides all he wants to do is do yoga and meditate. One day he decides he's going to surrender to whatever the universe brings his way. So basically surrendering to his authentic life. And the story I'm not going to ruin. I encourage you to go read it. The story takes him from this poor college student doing meditation and yoga in the woods to eventually taking a company public, becoming a multimillionaire, and the ride there is unbelievable. But it was done by surrendering to what the universe brought to him and surrendering to what felt true to him, which is an example of the authentic life. If his story doesn't give you encouragement to maybe pull back a little bit and listen to what the inside's saying and follow that, then I don't know what will. So the authentic life, while it is a simple definition, the life you were created to live, it's much more complex. It's harder to put into words for you to really grasp. It's something that I think you can see and hopefully you can experience. And you are all here for a reason tonight, or you're watching for a reason, or you're listening for a reason. This found this way to you. I don't know why. Hopefully it is maybe to inspire you to look at your life and maybe begin to move towards your authentic life, wherever you may be on your journey. Maybe it is to help encourage you to keep on evolving so you don't get too comfortable and run the risk of not keeping up with the evolution of your authentic life. But for some reason, you decided to tune in and listen to a talk about the authentic life. The task for you is to figure out why that is. So one of the cool things that we did towards the end of the series in 2023 was end on, we'll say Q&A, but end on discussion. So I want to now open it up to discussion.